Discoverability. Is that a word? Discoverability? I don't know.
It is.
If it ain't a word, it's a word now. I'm big on discovering things. Like as a kid, I was just so much of a sponge, bro. Like I just soaked in a lot of information. So I think that's what added on to me being an open book, or always wanting to be a student, not just academically where it's just a structure. All right, follow the textbooks, follow the PowerPoint. No, like I like to learn differently, hands on, or like to mess with things and buttons like I've been doing and when I shouldn't been doing it, but that's all right. We're gonna learn. So yeah, I've always like learning hands on, and I appreciate you helping out, man. Like I said, I appreciate this space. This is more hands on than any other episode out there. So
we dope in here, bro. I mean, for real, I don't need nobody trying to munch on us real quick for still having a Christmas tree.
Oh yeah, yo, don't.
Like you said, that ain't nobody's business.
That ain't none of your business. Don't worry about nothing, all right? Cause some of you motherfuckers out there still got your tree up with the decorations, with the stockings, with the lights outside still probably. So don't worry about nothing, all right? This is a vibe, so don't even fuck up the vibe, all right? We chilling. Don't worry about nothing. Mind your business.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, bro. Like, me and my pops pretty much share the same style for the most part. Just real mellow, chill, comfortable, cultural. See, you got swords and all this different Asian artifacts and everything.
Yeah, I've noticed the artifacts, bro. That reminds me of Kill Bill type shit right there, bro. Man. Yeah. So I mean, that kind of ties into what you were saying, bro. Like stuff like this, just this type of aesthetic. You know what I'm saying? That's why I don't think you've seen my room yet, but yeah, that's why my room looks the way that it does. Like dark colors, you know what I'm saying? A lot of abstract stuff. Cultural things. I got swords in my room. I got, you know what I'm saying? Little tapestries, posters, this, that, and the third to kind of make it up. Yeah, definitely check that out if you don't mind. Yeah. Okay, Because I remember the last episode, I was like, this is a whole. We back in my room with it. Okay.
I'm saying.
And y'all saw the little new posters and everything I had. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a moment when my room was a little plain and all that, because I've left a few times, but I've came back. I was like, okay, this room needs to new style, new era, new whatever. So I started putting up things that I have an interest, or was part of my childhood probably, or whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying, that I find an interest in, and that reflects, you know, me, I guess, you know what I'm saying, growing up and everything. So
yeah, for sure. But that's why them adolescent years are so important. Yeah. I mean, it teaches you a lot about yourself initially, for one, because it's like, you know, even with you know what I'm saying, just understanding how your childhood taught you was a real hands-on person. You know what I'm saying? For a lot of people, I think a lot of the things that make us into who we are, I mean, it definitely comes from our childhood. But it's like, I think it's real particular things, because it's not everything that we remember or we pick up on from our childhood, but it's those little things in particular that kind of stay
those minute.
Like for me personally, like I know for me, a big one is I'll say just acceptance. Like acceptance and love, and I'll go in depth with it as far as saying like just always being empathetic and loving to people, because when I was a child, I was around my grandmas a lot. I was around my grandmothers, and you know, just a lot of, well, the majority of that side of my family is women anyway, but I was always around my mother, my grandmother, you know, my aunts, people like that. A lot of women, a lot of strong and loving women in my family. So that's what they taught me initially, was just being able to love people regardless, always be open to being kind to one another, share empathy, this, that, and the third, and that carried with me up until I became an adult. But you know, I appreciate them a lot for those type of qualities that they embedded in me. One, because it's like, yo, like
your personality.
Absolutely, because like, you know what I'm saying, it's not even just with love, but it's like with just those different things. It's like sometimes a lot of people don't get to experience that type of stuff. Like my family is very affectionate, you know what I'm saying? Speak when you come in the door, hugs and kisses.
Yeah, speak when you're spoken to and all that. You know it's a uniqueness to every human. Absolutely. Of how they was brought up. Some was brought up one parent. Okay, which parent? Mom or dad? Mom. So that means you're gonna be a majority of mom's side and all this, or brought up with dad, you're gonna be a majority of dad's side. Okay, if you have both parents, that's a uniqueness to every dynamic, to every encounter, to every experience, from falling off a bike, scraping your knee. What do you associate that with? Do you associate that with pain because nobody helped you clean it up? Or do you associate that with the mother figure that helped and got you bandaged up and nurtured you and everything to be like, okay, it's all right? Or the dad that said, okay, be tough about it, son, but I'm still going to help you out, but just know this is nothing compared to what you're going to go through in life. Like, it's a uniqueness in that, and I appreciate you bringing that up and giving flowers to the mother figures or whoever it is, the guardian that helped raise you, because they were still little kids too. 70-year-olds are still little kids. I still try to hold on to that little kid nature in me. Yes, I'm becoming a man in the adult and matureness and responsibilities, but that kid in me is still there when you talk to me. You're still talking to 9-year-old me. You're still talking to 19-year-old me. You're talking to 22-year-old me, and so forth. You're talking to every version of me as I get older. So I respect that you have not love per se, like you said, but empathy towards something, or sympathetic, which means you're accepting of people how they come and who they are, but also being careful with that, because some people can misuse and abuse people that have those qualities about them, and they can use and take, because we do live in a take world when there's not enough giving out of your heart or out of the fact that you see something that's not right or whatever the case may be. But I wanted to go into, because I just recently learned this, the fact that you brought that up. I just recently learned in a way, like you kind of said, but I recently learned that, damn, I had it. But I recently had learned that, yes, it's okay to be a good person. Yes, allow yourself grace and live your peace and everything, but be careful who you let in like that, because like I said, some people's gonna take advantage of that. And wow, man, for you to speak that, I fuck with that. There's people that's definitely gonna fuck with that. Like, that's true. You're true to who you are. And like I said earlier, it goes back to your upbringing and the root of who you are. And some people might not have an idea of that still, because they're still trying to find their identity. Because it is a bit of an identity crisis going on. But with everything being accessible nowadays, there's an advantage to generations today that generations before us didn't have, when they were still trying to find themselves, and they were having kids, trying to raise a family, doing the best they can, the best that they could, and have to live with the results of who they raised and everything, whether they was in the streets, whether they was here or there. Your child, yes, they will make mistakes. They might make the same mistakes you do, but you're doing your best for them to not do what you did because of everything you've learned. So, yeah.
I do want to say this too, bro, because I watched the video last night. I was scrolling on Instagram last night, and I stopped and seen a video with this comedian. His name is Preacher Lawson, and he asked a question in the camera. He was like, he basically just said, "How old were you when you realized that your parents don't have it all figured out?" Mm-hmm. Basically, like, just to where you get to that point of understanding, like, oh, okay, they're basically learning this as they go.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? They don't have all the answers. They're not as prepared.
There's no handbook for that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, what, like, yeah, just to ask you the same question. Like, have you ever been in that situations where it sunk into you just watching your parents and observing what was going on, to where you were like, dang, man, you know, they really just doing the best that they possibly can. You know what I'm
saying? Yes and no, but there was definitely a moment. Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't ongoing, because as you grow up, you're just a kid. You're just like, oh, this is normal. Yeah. What this is how we live. Yeah. Like, outside of that, you don't know nothing outside of that. But yeah, as you do get older, you start to question things, because mine was quite unique, because I was raised by my grandparents. I wasn't raised by my mom. I wasn't raised by my dad. I was raised on my dad's side by his parents. But that was a whole unique situation that had happened. So that upbringing was, what was the question? Because it was kind of like two...
Yeah, it was just like at what point were you at in your life? What age, or whatever the case may be, or what circumstances, whenever you realized that your parents didn't have it all figured out?
Oh yeah. Because when me being raised by my grandparents, yes, they had their own 5 sets of kids, but they also had more kids when they took us in. Yeah. So it was kind of like you're dealing with all these different personalities, all these people that have different opinions, that are not just your kids, but they're actually human beings that you're trying to raise. And each one, you're trying to do it right every single time. Every time you just, all right, what I didn't do for this one, I'm gonna do for this one. What I didn't, because it's not gonna be 100% the right way. You're just gonna do it the best way you can into the knowledge you have. And I'm glad you asked that, because like, it wasn't like that was a deep thought, but I'm sure there's people that have had that out there that realize that. But for me, it was a little bit more, they made sure I didn't have to think that. They made sure that I didn't have to fight over starving or whatever the case may be. But they also showed me how to recognize that when that is going on for other people. So growing up, I had friends that didn't eat until they got to school. And when they got home, they didn't eat until they got back to school the next day. There wasn't no food at the house. Or they might be wearing the same clothes from last year. Or they wasn't able to get the school supplies. You know what I'm saying? But you don't know that. You don't know that's going on. That's why I'm saying this is a unique experience for everyone. But I don't think there was an actual moment, but I did actually think about that growing up a little bit, where it was just like, so this is my situation. And but I'm not mad at that. Because there was a moment where, and I want to ask you, would you blame your parents? Like, would you say that you could be like, why didn't you teach me all these things? But I had watched that on the podcast where it was like, they was asking us like, would you be mad at your parents because they didn't teach you the financial literacy or teach you how to use credit or do your taxes and all that? And there was different answers, obviously. There was some where it was like, well, today everything's more accessible in this generation, so there's no excuse. And there was some where it was like, well, my mom, she was an immigrant that came in, so she didn't know until she needed to know. And when she didn't know, she couldn't really teach me because she didn't speak Spanish. You know what I'm saying? She didn't speak Spanish. So how could she teach me if she's an immigrant coming in? And I'm seeing these different perspectives. So I'm going to ask you, was there a moment where you felt like you needed to be like, well, why didn't you teach me that? You know what I'm saying? Why didn't you teach me that? Like, I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Was there ever a moment like that with your mom or your dad or whoever? You know what I'm saying? Where
there were plenty of moments.
It was just frustrated, like.
Yeah, plenty of them with both of them. If I'm gonna be honest, there was moments where, if I'm being completely honest, where I had to be very vocal about it with both of them. You know, I actually had to sit down and have a conversation with my dad and have a conversation with my mom and just ask them just from, not necessarily from a point of blaming them every single time, but it definitely came to a point to where it was just, I was coming from a point of clarity. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, why didn't y'all feel the need to, you know, keep us away from these type of things, or why didn't y'all feel the need to teach us this, or put us in these type of areas, or not to expose us to the type of things that y'all expose us to? Because a lot of the times, you know, and sometimes if we're gonna be completely honest and transparent with it, sometimes there's a lot of things that parents can prevent as far as the decisions that they make with their children. But it's like at the same time, you know, like, as well as just not putting the full blame on them, because sometimes they don't know any better, and sometimes they're just in a situation where they can't be as efficient as parents. But at the same time, I was just kind of like, dang, like, you know what? Why didn't y'all make these decisions to keep us away from what we were exposed to?
Right.
You know, because I know for us as kids, we were exposed to a lot of things we weren't supposed to be exposed to.
Right.
Whether it
that
was,
exposure is different from generations, man.
like whether it was criminal activity, whether it was sexualization, whatever the case may be. You know, I just came from a point at one point where I was angry about it, where I was very convicted towards my parents. And then once the last part where I was just questioning, you know what I'm saying? Well, actually went to them personally and was like, you know, what was going on during this time? Like, what were y'all thinking? What was y'all mind states? You know what I'm saying? And what led y'all to not make this decision or to make this decision? You know what I'm saying? And of course, I got it for because it was like, at the time, I was really affected by these particular things. Like, like we talked about on other podcasts, like when I was a kid, you know what I'm saying? I was a big, you know what I'm saying? I was a big kid. Like, I was like, overweight for the majority of like elementary
Right.
So, you know, once I got into it and fitness was my thing, you know what I'm saying, I started staying on top of my health and my physical fitness and my physique and whatnot. You know, of course I went into them and was just like, yo, what was going on with this? Like, why weren't y'all, you know what I'm saying, making sure we had healthy foods in the crib and making sure that we were exercising and getting out and, you know what I'm saying?
All these questions.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
No answers.
Making sure we was eating fresh produce and eating things that were going to be more beneficial
because you go to school,
to our
you're
bodies.
like, you're not trying to compare, but your brain does that. It's like, why is this situation like that? And our situation is like, what I thought was so normal is not normal. What's going on? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was well protected, and I thought I was, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
And that's where it comes from. I'm glad you said that, because that's where it comes from. It comes from just unlearning the things that the things that you become comfortable with being in. Like for instance, just wrapping it up, like becoming comfortable in chaos, and then growing up to realize that it was chaos you were in the whole time.
Becoming comfortable in chaos and
then growing up to realize you were in chaos.
Damn.
So that's like growing up in darkness and then growing up and realize once you stepped outside that cave and you've seen light that you were in darkness the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's like growing up in an environment that has a lot of dysfunction and conflict, chaos, fighting and cussing, screaming, this, that, the third, distance within the family. And since you've grown up in this is all you've known. You've grown up thinking this is normal. But once you get older and you find out, okay, maybe a family isn't supposed to operate like this. Kids aren't supposed to be acting like this. Kids aren't supposed to be raising themselves and going out in the streets.
Yeah,
and
it's not
in the
normal.
streets,
But it's so normalized now. Kids walking on the street, taking care of themselves like they grown as fuck.
And that's what I'm saying.
With no home.
So it's like once you get older and you build the capacity to understand, okay, this isn't right. That's where you get to the point where you start questioning these things from your parents or from, you know what I'm saying, your guardians or whoever the case may be. That's when you get to the point to where you question it, because it's like, yo, like, why didn't y'all know this information?
Right.
Like, why didn't y'all keep us from, you know what I'm saying, having to go through these things that we went through? And it's like, just putting yourself in a situation where you like, dang, like if I had kids, I know I would have kept my kids from, you know what I'm saying, being exposed to this or.
But they probably said the same thing to themselves too, because there's pros and cons on. I guess I can't speak for every parent because I'm not a parent, and it would be dope to have a parent on here because I know plenty of young parents, older parents, but there's pros and cons into the choices they make into. Do I need to discipline them this way? Do I need to pull them to the side to talk? There's pros and cons to how you choose, but you just got to know who you're dealing with. And as a parent, you got to know your child. You have to know your child, I feel like, because if you don't know who you're dealing with. It just adds more to the chaos, because then everybody's just roaming and just on a automatic thing, to where it's a cycle, a never-ending cycle, and you have a feeling where you're like, all right. And once you become aware of that, it's like, when does it end? How can I make it end? Do I need to separate myself from this?
Yeah.
Is it that bad? Do I need to separate myself from this? Or is there a way where we can figure this out? Because I'm sure people have tried that way, this way, and still fighting for it. Yeah. But it's crazy you bring that up, man. Yeah.
I think that's why we question it, though.
Yeah.
It's just kind of figuring out exactly what avenue to take with it. Because I mean, of course, you got to understand that once you do come to the point to where you realize these things are wrong or they're not supposed to be being done, or just for questioning them in general, that you're kind of going to be that person that takes a step to break these generational curses. Or you're going to be that person that finds that issue that what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, that finds that issue in the software, basically.
Yeah. So where is that connecting happening?
Yeah,
like, it's not just this particular moment, but how does it get there? How can I not allow that to take place when I have my kids, generationally speaking? Because, you can get all the finance, all the money you want and everything. Sure, that takes away a lot of those other responsibilities. But we talking about the actual work of raising a human being, bringing them up, not trying to spoil them. Are you spoiling them? In what ways are you spoiling them? You letting them get away with things? You letting them have things? It's just a uniqueness to it, man. And it's beautiful. It is beautiful. Life is still beautiful to me when I look at it than when I used to look at it. But yeah, I get it. You built up that resentment. You build up those questions. You build up, why is it like this? Why? And you get flooded with all these questions with no answers. And then when you do vocally speak about it, I hope for those who do vocally speak about it, and I have to go through what I did, where it's just you feel like you're fighting it all the time.
Yeah.
They're not seeing it how you seen it. You've been seeing it how they saw it. You've been in their eye, but when is they gonna see it through your eye? And what I realized, I can't walk through your shoes. It's very difficult for me to walk through your shoes. That's where I feel like there is a level of understanding with quality time spent together, learning a person and learning yourself and how you and this person operate when you are together in that aura and that dynamic. And then when you have that whole understanding, you're still going to come down to the conclusion that you're still not going to be able to walk their shoes. You're not. You might go through similar things, whether you was brought up in the streets getting shot at, or people that go through that whole system. It's a system everywhere. Which one you want to deal with? How was you brought up? What choices did you make when your parents wasn't around and you was just like, I heard about not doing this, but I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
And then being at school with the fights, the terrible food, the terrible teaching, the low pay, all that plays a part into it, into that web. You know what I'm saying? Because you gonna find yourself going through a loop when you find out, all right, I fixed that. But while you fixing that, you realize, damn, there's another connector point over there. It's always gonna be some shit, man. But it's
But with that situation, though, I do want to circle back to that about what you said as far as it being a constant battle. Whenever you start realizing.
When you bring that up, because it can go two ways.
Yeah.
They will either listen, hear you out. How can we work through this? Or it'll be a fighting battle, and that's where it went for me.
But you got to think about it, though. That's how it's supposed to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason it's supposed to feel like that is because, like I said, you've got to, now what you have in this realization and you having this conviction to understand, dang, like, this isn't how we're supposed to be raising children, or this isn't how we're supposed to be maneuvering as a family.
Mm-hmm.
You then got to now be that person to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make that decision between, okay, are we going to continue to just try to deal with this as best as we can, or am I going to nip it in the bud right here, sever these ties, and start something new, start a completely new, different wave in our family, in our relationship, whatever the case may be. Am I going to be the person to go ahead and finally say, okay, I know this is what we've been doing. I know everybody's pretty much, everybody's pretty much comfortable in chaos, but I'm gonna take the initiative and say, okay, let's forget everything we've been doing as a family from here on out. And let's try doing things this way and see exactly what kind of outcomes we get from doing things this way. Because obviously, doing things like this for generation and generation before this has been getting us here. And where we're at right now isn't the best place for us to be. Not for kids, not for adults.
And it's not about like
things
wiping out those set traditions or way of thinking. It's about evolving that.
Absolutely.
Through generations. How do you evolve that? Through time, things do change.
Because you got to think about we're not talking about we're not talking about getting rid of your auntie that's always the talkative one at the cookout. We're not talking about getting rid of grandma falling asleep, or you know what I'm saying, getting rid of grandma that's always saying the wrong prayers. We're talking about getting rid of the fact that you have a 14-year-old daughter, and now she has an Instagram full of boys texting her that wanna over sexualize her all the time. We're talking about getting rid of your 14-year-old son who's in high school, still in school, but now he wants to run the streets. We're talking about getting rid of the fact that we can only communicate within our household if we're yelling and cussing and screaming at each other. We're talking about getting rid of these things that aren't conducive to us being as effective of a family as possible. That's what we're talking about. So we're not talking about, you know what I'm saying, we got to get rid of traditions and you know what I'm saying, people with set personalities.
We're not talking about eviscerating that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. We're talking about evolving and getting to a place to where we can still be that, but we can get better long-term outcomes. We can get better. We can get better offspring. We can get better outcomes from. You know what I'm saying? We can get better.
Because you don't want them to come up and fight that the same way you fought that.
Absolutely.
You want them to know you are going to be one to change this. You're carrying it still, generationally speaking, but it's up to you. How do you carry that with you?
Absolutely.
How do you present that? What is that? How do you embody that in your way?
How do you be a leader?
How do you be a leader?
How do you be a leader?
Leader, man.
You know, and that's something that's going to take time for you to understand exactly how you're going to conduct yourself and how you're going to be able to better get your point across. Because like I said, even with me taking that step in school, in work, in ministry, things of that nature, just becoming a leader, it's like I gotta figure out how I'm going to reach people the most effective way I know how. You know what I'm saying? I got mentors. I got people I look up to. I got people I respect, but at the same time, I got my own shoes to fill.
That's right.
So it's like I can't lead like Pastor Stone leads. I can't lead like Principal Ferguson leads.
Because that's how
you know
they lead.
That's them. That's
you
their
might
shoes.
pull bits and parts of that, but you still got to do it your way of leading.
So it's like you gotta go through those experiences and actually go through that conflict. You gotta go through that conflict within yourself and within your family, so that you put yourself in those type of pressures. Because while you're in those pressures, that's where you figure out, okay, you know what I'm saying? Even though it looks like, you know what I'm saying, we're going through the weeds right now.
Right.
Once I figure out exactly how I get myself out of this, that's how I realize exactly what qualities I've pulled from that are going to make me a better leader. I'm in this situation where everybody's yelling and cussing and screaming at each other. What am I going to do to cut through all this conflict and get everybody to look at it from a different light, to look at it from a better light? Hey, look, you know what I'm saying? Hey, look, I know this has got you upset, but if you can just listen, I want to explain it to you this way. Look, I know this has got you upset. I know it's unfortunate, and I'm sorry, but I love you with all my heart. Only thing I want is for us to be able to sit here, have this conversation, be peaceful, and nobody walk away with no cuts and bruises. If we can do that, I promise you it's going to have a way better outcome for me and you both, Auntie. So if you can do me this favor and just giving me a hug, I'll give you a hug. We sit here, we talk it out, no yelling, no cussing. I promise you, that's going to be a way better outcome for me and you both in the long run. So can we please do that? She say yes. Y'all sit there, talk it out. Damn. Now this is the way that we carry things in our family.
Yes, sir, bro. That's the truth right there, man. That's the truth. That's the fucking truth. When I say that, that's the truth. I mean that, because it's how you conduct yourself through leadership. When that shit happens, it'll test you. Is you gonna add fuel to the flame, to the fire, or are you gonna conduct yourself in a way to get that flame? We don't need that flame. No. Let's do it like this real quick. Let's see the outcome of it like this. What can it create? What would it lead us to? And what doors that can open for us as a family, for myself, and for you?
It's a lot too, bro.
Being an example. It's hard being an example. It takes a toll, but you know what? It's well worth it, because it's not supposed to be easy. Nobody's ever said it was supposed to be easy conducting yourself in that way. With the morals you have, the standards you have, and the things you want to learn, and things you don't know that you're going to have to eventually learn. We're here to learn. We're here to love. We're here to grow and connect. That's the main reason I want to travel. Like I said, it's to connect.
It's one of the main things it's gonna take is patience. Bro.
Patience.
You know what I'm saying? And I say patience because like even in those situations, because like I said, to become a better leader, regardless, you're gonna have to go through pressure. Any other time. You're gonna have to learn how to act under pressure, because you know what I'm saying. Where there's conflict, there's gonna be pressure regardless. And a thick amount of becoming a leader is being able to know how to deal with conflict effectively. So you know,
the most effective way.
Yeah, the
most effective way.
So your patience comes in whenever you do have a situation like that, and you can show somebody. Basically, whenever you conduct yourself professionally and with patience, you show somebody exactly why this is the more effective way to do that. Because you're coming at them not yelling, not cussing, not screaming, not fighting, not leading with violence, and you're coming at them still being able to get your point across, still being effective, still saying what you have to say, but you're not losing your mind doing it. So if you in turn end up...
You're not compromising that. Yeah.
So if you in turn end up losing your mind while you're talking to this person, you don't give them a reason to show... to be patient. You don't give them a reason to stop yelling. You don't give them a reason to stop cussing. You don't give them a sight of what it looks like to be peaceful in this situation, no matter what it is. So that